Hello and welcome to Building Digital Solutions with Yalantis. I'm Victor Asacci, and together with our guests, I will lead you through the topic of innovations in SaaS for dynamic employee management. At Yalantis, we help businesses bridge tech leadership and tech talent gaps with modern technology and software development practices, so you can scale, innovate, and monetize your products and solutions. So today, I invite you to the conversation with Milad Hosho, CTO and founder at Adligo, and Alice Holmgren, COO at Adligo. Milad and Alice, welcome to Building Digital Solutions with Yalantis, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
How about we start with the introduction of yourselves? Would you tell us more about your company, your experiences? I'm sure that everyone is looking forward to hearing to this.
All right. Who should go first, me or you, Alice?
Go, Milad.
All right. So, Milad, I'm based in Stockholm. I've been in the tech industry now for over 10 years. I wrote my first code row when I was like 15, 16 years old. So I've always been enjoying the techie part of the world, everything from hardware to software. So I started my journey at a insurance company here in Sweden. And by then I went over to a fintech company and I've been doing some consultancy. So just being out there in the field, doing my thing, working from a plain old developer, taking over a bit of more complex roles, being product owner, project leader, and then the more that I will be, let's say, going into details in all of these companies. I've been explaining to myself that okay, it's not only development I'm good at, it's also the let's say the management part, the administration part, the decision making, the strategy part. So for me, it was quite easy and simple to take that path. And for the past, I would say 4 or 5 years, I've been operating as a CTO for a couple of companies, and now recently for Adligo, which we founded.
That's amazing. Thank you. Alice, what about you?
Yeah, I was contacted by Adligo for approximately 2 years ago, and then I was working as a data analyst in the automotive industry. And I was contacted by the founders with this idea about a management tool that were able to take care of employees during the ongoing phase, to keep them engaged, keep them on track with tasks, with goals. And I thought it was an amazing business idea, and I've happily been a part of the project since.
That's great. Thank you so much. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, please proceed.
Should I do just a short summary of a product? So from that point where I was contacted, we have been designing and developing a cutting-edge SaaS product designed to revolutionize management in specifically small and mid-sized companies. And at its core, Adligo simplifies and enhances employee management, making it easy for managers to handle their HR responsibilities. And it's not only a tool for management, it also actively involves the employees. So fostering this bottom-up transformation in the workplace. It's simply an innovation to save time and boost an efficiency, and as well as leading to happier employees and, of course, significant cost saving for the business.
That's great. That's great. I remember that Milad corrected me that it should not be called an HRM system because it's way much more. It's more like a SaaS product for dynamic employee management. Am I right?
You're very much right. It's
That's
also correct. To not only keep the human resources in check, but the overall company resources. So information, systems, the company hardware, certifications of employees, things like that also have their place in Adligo.
That's great. That's amazing. I already feel like there are so many layers covered with this solution. There must be some specific challenges that this SaaS platform is addressing, right? Would you be able to focus more on the challenges you were overcoming when creating this product?
Of course, specifically when creating this product, we were looking at challenges for management that does not have the support of an HR function within the company. which is often the case in small and mid-sized companies. So we have to address the traditional challenges of HR, but specifically for managers. The first and most obvious is to tackle manual and time-consuming tasks simply by automating them, and also streamline data management by integrating various systems into one spot. We also wanted it to improve employee insights and business insights, and give the manager opportunity to actually keep track of the company and employees whilst they're not sitting in office any longer together.
That's
Does that make
great.
sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely explains why I should not be referring it like an HRM system. It's way beyond that. It's even getting closer to ERP systems and other systems for employee management and resource management overall. Thank you so much for the explanation. That's great. And talking about some specific features, maybe there are some specific kind of functionality that you feel is groundbreaking or that is reshaping employee management.
I think, okay, so we already mentioned the automated processes. To be very specific, think about an automated onboarding process. But I think that going forward, one of the more groundbreaking features would be the AI and machine learning integrating into HR SaaS products. So to be able to use AI-driven data analytics for smarter decision-making during recruitment, or also have machine learning to actually be able to predict how the business is going and what type of competences we should be hiring or teaching our employees in-house.
That's great. Wow, that sounds so modern, especially considering the impact of AI and ML-driven products. That's amazing. That's great. And if we go to a level higher, if we focus on the perspective of the business owners, of the CEOs and founders of the companies, how implementing and integrating such SaaS platforms for HR and for employee management in general and resource management can affect and improve, I suggest, ROI for them?
Investing in SaaS HR tools is a simple way to reduce cost and also boosts ROI. It simply reduces labor costs through automation. It enhances workforce decisions with data analytics, and it also lowers turnover rates by improving employee experience. And as a bonus, it also makes it easier for you to scale your business, avoiding expensive upgrades and keeping your scale-up process in an organized and engaging way for the employees.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, that really makes sense. Okay, let's move on. You already mentioned that it's primarily for the small and mid-sized businesses, right? And why focusing on this specific sector of businesses in this range of businesses? Does it have any specific roots from the background, or maybe it has some specific functionality? Would you be able to explain more on that?
I think traditionally HR platforms and systems have been for the bigger companies, and this has kind of left the startups and growing businesses out in the cold, where they've not been able to implement such complicated and complex systems. Building SaaS systems for small and mid-sized companies is a good idea because they are flexible and scalable, and you can also start small with a SaaS platform and then add features as you grow. Plus, since SaaS innovations are often cloud-based, this means that you can also access them anywhere, which is crucial, of course, for expanding your business globally.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, truly. Okay, thank you. Well, let's focus on the examples of such SaaS tools for employee management that have already successfully driven some employee engagement, possibly improved business efficiency, I mean the business operations, right? Would you be able to give some examples of how it already helped some of your clients possibly, or the businesses that have already implemented such tools?
Are you talking specifically about Adligo, or do you want me to do an objective other example?
Oh,
For
let's
Adligo.
focus on Adligo. Yeah, I guess it would be more interesting to hear
course.
about this experience. Yes.
Of course. It's a very good question. I've been a part of the onboarding process for the majority of our clients, and a lot of them are coming from a place where they do not have any tool at all from the beginning. So this means that they often have a lot of information on paper. And if they don't have it on paper, it's often a bit lost in the cloud. They have a little bit on OneDrive and a little bit on Google Drive. Maybe they have a website. They might even have an intranet. And then when they have all four of those, it just makes a huge difference for them to be able to have one access point, and not only for information, but also for all the employees and all of their working systems at the same time. So just for them to have some type of baseline and a common ground for all the employees digitally, it makes a huge difference in specifically organization.
That's great. Thank you. It sounds like handling so many volumes of data, right? And that's with the modern requirements, with the modern compliance standards, right? There must be some kind of specific points to consider when working with this sensitive data, which is stored in the cloud, which is collected in the universal source of truth, which the platform is. And I guess from the technical background, possibly, the question is, how do you handle and how do you ensure the compliance, first of all, with these standards? And how do you ensure that this data is securely stored? And I guess that's a burning question for the most businesses today. But I guess for the ones who are planning to implement such a tool, and for the ones who are planning to build such a tool, that's the question number one. Are you sure that it's going to be secure, especially given how much information is given there? Would you be able to reveal more?
Absolutely. I can take a lead on this, Alice. So there's actually a two-way street here to look into. So first of all, it's what you're populating in the platform itself, like visually what you're presenting. And remember that we were before the launch that we looked through, okay, what variables are we actually showing to our clients, and what will they see across the platform? So that was one fundamental thing to look into, and we actually drastically reduced that one, just to be a bit more GDPR compliant, not to share sensitive data across the platform between colleagues, coworkers, wherever it is. And then we have since we're aiming for the Swedish market at the moment mainly, we're using Amazon, and we're using the location here in Stockholm as the let's say cloud server, cloud supplier, let's say, so that we are actually within the country's borders. That's one thing. And then how we're storing data, that we're storing it securely. And we have, let's say, operational wise, we only have 1-2 people that actually can go through the back office, let's say, to identify this data. So it's not shared across any other one within the company itself. So that's how we make it compliant at the moment.
No, thank you. And if we talk about some specific security measures, would you be able to reveal on those? I mean, like any kind of advice you should be giving to people who are planning to integrate such a system with their businesses, specifically in the Swedish market or worldwide. Maybe there should be some security measures taken from their side, and or just considered when implementing such a product.
It's a good question. I would say mainly for now to go offshore, let's say outside Sweden, we wouldn't be, well, we're ready from a setup point of view. It will be very easy for us to turn it up to say, let's do Germany, let's do Norway, let's do whatever other country. So it's easy for us to do, but I would say it's more a environmental and a cloud topic to touch point on, which we at the moment haven't put our priority on. But let's say for the Swedish market, usually when you have companies within, let's say, 5 to 10 employees, they're not so keen on, let's say, they're not so focused on the security measures. They just want a tool that is actually working based on the requirements. Looking at companies above 20, 30 employees, they are a bit more sensitive, and they are sensitive about what they're sharing across the platform and what they're storing across the platform. And what we can promise them is that data is not shared between coworkers. That's the most important thing, to be frank. If a manager, let's say, we have two different permission levels. So we have the employee and we have the staff owner or the manager or the employer, let's say. So that person will be able to see everything, identify everything. But between the coworkers, which is the most crucial part, that is something that we can ensure that you're not able to see other data, other sensitive data, by reducing and, let's say, excluding certain parts of the platform to the other ones. So that's how we basically can promise our, let's say, functionality, that it's bulletproof in that sense.
You mean like role management, right, and administrative management?
Yeah, like a role management and slash permission management in directly in the platform. That is something that we built in just for the sake, not to be able to, let's say, share sensitive data across the platform to users who actually shouldn't see this.
That's great. Yes, that's I guess that's the most important basic functionality that helps mitigate the risks connected with the sensitive data.
I think so, but it's like I said, it all depends also to who you're talking to. Is it small companies within 3 employees to maybe up to 20? They don't even care. But if you're talking to small, let's say, medium-sized companies, 30 plus, then often they do ask these questions, and they are very keen to understand how it operates in the platform.
That's great. I like how you care about the companies and you know your audience, because you're already making tiers of the people who are involved in the platform, right, and who are looking for the solution for optimizing their resource management. That's amazing. And I remember that Alice already mentioned that you are guys integrated with the AI solution, right, that helps in decision making and a lot of other important functionalities. And I guess from the technical perspective, it's always a challenge, and it's always a worrying challenge for the business owners who are planning to integrate their systems with AI and ML-based integrations, third parties, and so on. And the question is, was it a big challenge to you to integrate AI into your platform?
I think we need to be. I think we need to clarify that point. We haven't built it in yet. It's more let's say, a plan to be done, and we have it in the pipe. So that could be something for the future. It's nothing that we have planned in yet.
Yeah, please proceed.
One of the most, like, if we're talking specifically just about the question about integrating AI into any platform and SaaS platform specifically, and maybe also employee SaaS platform specifically, we'll be looking into safety, of course, for employee data, as well as looking at keeping the developing method always agile. Can't go another way without it. And as well as the challenge to not develop too much, because the potential of AI is huge. So if you want to do everything, you would easily do a lot of features that would never be used, but they would be super cool. Instead, actually keeping it very, very functional, and also look at where can we just automate and where do we actually need AI to be able to do specific tasks.
It's quite easy for people to say, well, we need AI, because that's
Totally.
the hype right now. Yeah. So I think it's more to segment, why is it needed, to what purpose, and how can we benefit from it. And for me, like as responsible over the platform, I would say to introduce AI, it would be more for the analytical part, like point of view. I wouldn't be using AI for, let's say, for the users in the platform to interact with it at the moment, because we're still seeing that AI is developing. It's not there yet. the more you're pushing through data into AI, it's learning more how you're behaving and what you actually want to see. So it would be more from the analytical point of view to maybe generating reports, benchmarking numbers within the platform, rather than having an interface and say, hey, ask me anything, I'll give you anything. It wouldn't just make sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Just like you said, building a spaceship when you only need a bicycle, say, right? Or when you know that bicycle is already efficient enough, and the rest will be just more confusing or involving extra resources that won't be used. It's totally a great approach. That's what we actually consider when we create solutions for our clients. I guess that's everything that every entrepreneur and the person stepping into software development should consider. You don't need just AI for AI. You need it for a specific purpose. And that's basically with every kind of technology. That's something I would like to have in a poster or something, because AI is everywhere right now, but the specificity of using it in software products is definitely the one to be clarified and approved, because in most cases, people are still looking into how it's going to impact their businesses, their domains, and if they're actually needing it. Just as you mentioned, sometimes you only need a specific algorithm that can be not AI-based. It can be just an algorithm that is working perfectly and keeping the system light. That's another thing that is affecting performance, and I totally agree on that. Thank you so much. Alice, you wanted to add something, or because I thought that I stepped into interrupting you?
No worries. I think you and Mila covered it all.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, that's a really interesting challenge. To be honest, I always think about creating a software product from the efficiency points of view, right? You have to understand whether you need this or that, whether it is a prior feature or not. It can be later added, and that's great. And talking about developing products in general, it's not a secret that we are collaborating with each other, right? So from your point of view as a technical specialist, and from Alice, from your point of view as operational specialist, can I ask you a question? Why you considered outsourcing instead of building in-house?
Oh, it's a quite wide question, to be frank. So you have a lot of fundamental reasons to why we chose this. One big part of this is the economical aspect, to make it, let's say, or to get more for a smaller price, to be frank. Because when you're working as a when you try to initiate something and want to build a platform, you have a big cap, or you have a certain cap of budget to actually allocate to development. And when we looked into this cap, I clearly could see that, okay, to be able to do this within the borders, we would be able to fulfill maybe 30% of what we have achieved with, for example, Yalantis now. If we go outsourcing, offshoring, whatever we call it, we will be able to fulfill much more. So that was one of the fundamental reasons. And then, to be frank, to get a team set up as fast as possible when we got the fundings in place, there's no other way than offshoring. There's no other way. This is something that I've seen so many times. Just to get a team gathered here in Stockholm, for example, you need to find the right people, you need to find the right personalities, you need to find everything right. That would take time. So it was more a strategic approach that we said, okay, we do offshoring due to the cost and to get more, and also to get started quite fast. So that was, I would say, the two fundamental reasons, to be frank.
And from an operational point of view, Mila mentioned the onboarding, but of course, then you also have to have employee management of these developers in-house in a very early stage of the company. It facilitates a lot to be able to focus on the actual critical tasks instead.
Yeah, and I remember, Alice, when we were in the beginning, we had two pipes that we were monitoring quite heavily. One of those was the development pipe, which was the one the most crucial one, I would say, to let's say get this product out. But the other one was the sales pipe. To get the sales team up and running, to get them to understand the platform, etc., etc. And that was basically, as you said, Alice, to get a development team within Adligo, within the, let's say, the same location, that would be too overwhelming, to be frank.
So it's about unburdening your in-house team, right? And helping them focus on more strategic tasks and helping them collaborate more with the sales team and focus on imparting knowledge and value of the product to the sales team, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Good summarized.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as an experienced person in outsourcing, you've already mentioned that you have gone through this stage before, right? Is there any specific kind of a framework or a set of, say, pieces of advice that you can give to entrepreneurs, enterprises, any other kind of business who are looking for an outsourcing team? Would you be able to offer them a step of sets to make sure they're looking for the right outsourcing partner?
Of course, like you have the old-fashioned way of doing this, and it's just to create a RFP, so a request for a proposal, where you're specifying exactly what you need from a technical point of view, from a requirements point of view, from a scalability point of view, from a cost point of view, and from a delivery time point of view. So basically, there's two ways of doing this as I see it, and I chose the old-fashioned way because this was a bigger task and a more strategic approach, because it's not only that we have founders, we have investors. So we need to do it properly, and we need to report back to them to say, okay, we did this approach, this is what we got, like by the book. The first way that I can, let's say, just give you a tip on is, if you're already working with a supplier or a couple of suppliers, you can start initiating a work quite ad hoc, sending over requirements, getting back something, and then you're trying to iterate over it. But the best way of doing this for a company like Adligo or any other startup companies, I would say, is that you create an RFP, let's say, proposal. You take this with you, and you reach out to X amount of suppliers that you would like to benchmark with. And this is exactly what we did. We reached out to 11, and then we did, let's say, second phase rounding, where we said, okay, of these 11, how many of these are within our cap? Okay, then we went down to 3, and then we went on heavily on interviewing them. Let's say we went on interviewing them from a personal point of view, from a technical point of view, and then from a management point of view. And then which one of those who are, let's say, matching the best with our needs, that's the one that we're going to select.
That
and,
makes
it's
a lot
not
of
only
sense.
yeah, and it's not only about the technical skills that needs to be in place. Of course, that's essential, but it's also about the managemental skills. You need to work with a supplier that understands your business. If they do not understand your business and what you're aiming for, you can just close down. It's no need that you work with that partner. They need to understand what phases you are in, what is gonna come towards you, and how you're gonna handle difficult times. Because you cannot have, I usually say the same word to everyone that are doing this to me. You need to stop being box oriented, and box oriented means that you're not looking widely into some parts. Like, you need to be able to communicate and be collaborative with your client to actually make this work. And that was one of the reasons why we chose Yalantis, to be frank.
That's great. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. And from a collaboration point of view, I personally, me and some of our clients and I guess some of the listeners of this video possibly have the fears of the collaborational issues and knowledge transfer issues when working with an outsourced team that is normally on the other side of the planet or in the other country. Right? Would you be able to reveal more on how that went for you and what you did to ensure the collaboration efficiency, or possibly the team did some kind of input to ensure this collaboration efficiency?
Absolutely. So initially, what is recommended is to always start with something called discovery phase. Using this discovery phase, you are being able to understand the scope together with the supplier, to break it down into details and estimate it according to, let's say, the requirements. So that's the first thing I recommend, because then you will be having a clear picture of this is what we need to accomplish to be able to deliver this. Okay. Secondly, I would say, if you're doing offshoring, let's say Ukraine, Poland, Cyprus, Croatia, or if it's in Asia, if it's in, let's say, India, Bangladesh, whatever it is, it's important that you keep transparency between the days that pass by. So what I initially mentioned to the team is that we need to get daily updates, regardless if it's through video call or if it's daily stand-ups. We need to get daily updates, basically, because, okay, between Sweden and Ukraine, it's not such a big time zone difference. But let's say if you're working with another supplier in India, it's a huge time zone difference. So daily updates it's key to get a successful delivery. You need to work in sprints, because you need to set a cap of what you are expecting from the supplier to get each sprint. And this is something that you need to groom before the sprint. So if you're grooming to say, okay, we have 10 tasks, of these 10 tasks, I'm happy if I get 8 of them. Or you just say, I need 10 of them. Easy, as simple as that. And these need to get delivered within that period. If it's a 1 week sprint, 2 week sprint, or a 3 week sprint, doesn't matter, but it's important that you have a plan forward, so that you're aiming for something and you have a vision for these 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Thirdly, is the documentation. To clearly document everything that is said, written, through direct communications or through, let's say, video meetings. And this means that usually you have requirement meetings to go through requirements. It's important that, for example, the BA on the other side, from the supplier side, is documenting this clearly, and after the meeting, sending out the draft to that person he or she is talking to, so that they can confirm, all right, this is good, this is what we have, we are on the same side, and not to take that with them and start initiating a development process without the client even approving what has been said. So transparency, daily communication, and documentation. That's how I see those three are the fundamental, let's say, pillars to get offshoring working and being successful for delivery.
That's amazing. Thank you. That's a lot already. Thank you so much. And reflecting on your experience of collaboration, are there any specific kind of challenges you had to overcome with an outsourcing team that you can remember of, and that you can share experience of? Because that's something that is possibly every listener is facing, right? And planning on working with an outsourcing team, there's some kind of expectations of the challenges that they should be facing, and maybe you could give some specific kind of advice on how to handle these challenges as well.
Do you mean generally or specifically?
Generally, yeah. You can reflect on both, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so let's say hurdles that I interfere with. I would say, vision-wise, from a delivery point of view, that is always something difficult to tackle, regardless if you're working with a Swedish supplier or an offshoring supplier, because you always have. So let me take one step back. You have an organizational schema, right? So you have the CTO or the project leader from the client side, which is responsible for the delivery. And then you have a lot of people in the background, which can be stakeholders. You have COOs, you have CEOs, you have investors, whatever it is. They always have something to say about the deliveries that are made. Okay, so this is not only with Yalantis. This has happened with me generally, and it's not about the supplier that are not doing their job. It's more about in-house within the company that we are not doing our job correctly. So, for example, it's more about putting effort to something. within a sprint or within a quarter, you can, together with your team, you're the client, together with your team, you can say, okay, this is what we want to get. Okay, perfect. This is our scope. This is our vision. I will take this with me. I will go to the supplier and say, how much of this can we get? Well, Milad, you will get 80% of this. Fantastic. You take that with you. You get back internally to your team and say, hey, we will get 80%. We'll not get 100. We'll get 80%. Is this okay? All right. You need to get a confirmation from everyone that they are on board, because the baddest way of getting the blame on the supplier is when you internally are not aligned with what will be delivered. Easy and simple as that. I've seen this with Yalantis. I've seen this with my other projects. It's important that you internally are aligned. If you're aligned, then they know what they will expect to get each sprint. Then, of course, if a sprint delivery includes bugs, that's another thing. But now I'm talking about generally the collaboration approach between a Swedish company and an offshoring company, and how this is being handled within the client itself.
That's great.
For
So
sure.
you mean like a stakeholder management, right?
Yes, a stakeholder management process needs to be applied before you actually take on this kinds of deliveries, to be frank. You need to have different thresholds. You need to have different, let's say, permissions to who are saying what and not. Because you don't want someone from the side coming in and say, this is not working, okay, but this is not expected to work this day. So everyone needs to be aligned.
Communicate a lot internally.
Yeah,
And
transparency
as Emil
between
says,
all parties.
specifically assign certain people within the company to be involved with the product development, and something not be as involved. So make sure that those that are involved are 100% aligned with each other, and also specifically in a requirement making stage, make sure that you have talked to these people or put on let them look at the requirements at least. So you don't have to handle that, because handling it after a sprint is a lot more time consuming than just making sure we're aligned beforehand.
That's great. That's a big insight, by the way. I mean, for the entrepreneurs who haven't had an experience with an outsourcer, you should be actually considering being prepared for the collaboration with an outsourcer, and ensuring that the requirements and outputs you're expecting are actually aligned within each specific department and stakeholder within your company before you actually transfer them to the outsourcing partner. That's quite a lot. Well, thank you so much. I know that we can answer a lot of questions more, but I remember that you guys are pressed for time, so I have just one more question about your platform, and it's mostly about the future vision of the product. Are there any specific kind of future implementations and functionality augmentations that you are planning on and that you would like to reveal in this podcast? Because I know some of them might be just a secret and would be a pleasant spoiler later. But if there is something that you believe that should be happening in the specific SaaS platform for employee management products and in this industry in general, I would like to learn more about that, because I'm sure listeners would be also willing to hear what you guys think on that.
For sure. I understand that you're curious as well as others. I have a lot of respect for our competitors, so I don't dare to mention specific features. But what I can say is that we are trying to move into a vision where we are actually creating this digital assistant for the employer. Now we have a digital platform, which is a good first step, but actually having the platform performing tasks for you, and being as an extra employee in the team.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was really insightful. I really enjoyed our conversation. As usual, we don't have time for all of the questions we would like to cover, but If there are any questions that listeners would like to ask, feel free to reach out to us on our YouTube channel, on our LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to Alice and Milad. I'm sure they will be happy to answer your questions on LinkedIn. And if you have questions that you would like to be redirected to them, feel free to address them to us on LinkedIn or on our email, which is hello@yalantis.com, on our YouTube channel, which is Yalantis, or on our LinkedIn channel, which is also Yalantis. Feel free to reach out to us there and ask your questions so that we could forward them to Milad and Alice, and you could get your answers. Today, we've explored the topic of innovations in the SaaS for dynamic employee management, and I was really excited to talk to you guys. It was so insightful and so interesting. I'm sure it's really insightful for the ones who are stepping into product development in general and considering implementing solutions for employee management in their business strategies. I'm sure it's going to be insightful to you as well. Thank you so much again for the insights you brought to us, and thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much.